All right, good morning, everyone. This is the Monday, November 15th meeting of the Planning, Housing, Economic Development Committee. And we're taking up two items. First is a general oversight review of the Department of Permitting Services, and the second is an executive regulation. So I will turn it to staff here in a moment. I see we're joined by Director Pedouin and Mr. Montezzetti and our council staff. These discussions that we're having are intended to supplement the fact that during the budget review in the past 2 years, we've been very constrained in the amount of time that we could spend on oversight due to pandemic, just the bandwidth from all the focus on the pandemic. Today's discussion, reviewing the packet, has some good information about the number of permits that have been processed and the revenue, and it's interesting to see that in general it looks like the number of permits are up, the revenues are not down. We're not seeing major impacts from the pandemic in the specific by the specific measures of permits and things like that. So we can hear a little bit about that in general. I'm very interested to get a sense today of a bigger topic here, which is the county executive's work to change, improve, and streamline the permitting process itself. And he has said many times that he was going to benchmark the county to our comparable, our peer jurisdictions in the region, and make sure that we are the best place to do business. And I have yet to see any real exact summary of what that work is. And I'd really very much like to see it. I'd like to see that benchmark. I would like to see the specific reforms that have been acted upon or that are being proposed. I don't recall seeing any legislation proposed by the executive branch. So I'd like to see how how the county executive is trying to fulfill that important promise that he made. So I think we could talk a little bit about that today, and I'd like to see us move relatively efficiently through the benchmark. The kind of data presentations that we have. We don't need to get too stuck in that because it looks very straightforward, at least from a distance. So I will turn it to council staff, Mr. Dew, Ms. Dunn, and thanks for being with us today. I don't know if my colleagues have any comments, otherwise we'll go right to council staff. Great.
All right, good morning. So as Councilmember Reamer said, this is an oversight review session of DPS. So today we're going to be hearing from the director and deputy director, as well as all of the division chiefs. There's a PowerPoint presentation, which is in your packet, along with the fiscal year 22 operating budget. And with that, I'm actually just going to go ahead and turn it over to Ms. Pedouin while I set up my screen share.
Good morning. Good morning, dear council, members, and also everyone else on this presentation. I'm Mitra Pedouin, the Director for Department of Permitting Services. Today, my staff and I are here to provide you with an overview of our budget and revenues for our department for Enterprise Fund, and including an update also for our key programs and initiatives. Could you please go to the next slide, Nico? So today we are going to talk after the budget overview. I'm going to provide you information about our new enterprise system. And then we're going to talk about the effect of COVID in our programs. And also we're going to provide you some update about our move to the beautiful building in Wheaton. And then after that, my division chief provides you a very short overview of their programs and also their accomplishment for this past year. And then we're going to open it to any questions and answers that you may have. Could you go to next slide, Lippo? So County's fiscal year 2022 resolution appropriated close to 39 million in operating expenses for DPS. As you would see in here, most of our expenditure is on our personnel. That is about 79%. Comparing that with the last 2 years, as you know, fiscal year 20, the last quarter of fiscal year 20 was the beginning of COVID. I started on April, and as of a month before I start to be the director, all the offices for county, they were closed. We had an approved budget of close to 42 million, and the revenue for fiscal year 20 was close to 44 million. And as you see, our expenditure was about $1 million more fiscal year 21, that the majority of that was all during COVID, and everywhere were closed, but not DPS. And we were very concerned about our revenues. And as you could see, construction did not stop. And by people being home, they wanted to do more renovations. And also due to architects and engineers working and not taking vacations, we saw an increase in our permit that it came to our office. However, as you see, we were very frugal in our expenditure. We had many concerns in regard not reaching to our revenue, and we kept on expenditures as minimum as possible. We did not hire a staff, and also because we wanted to go to this new system, we tried to hold on any other expenditures, major expenditures on the existing system, except us maintaining them. And could you please go to the next? Okay. The first 90 days that I was at DPS, I prepared my work program. The work program was a result of having more than 100 meetings with different stakeholders, many of the different businesses in the county, and also staff and county departments. I came up with a program for DPS, and I had two main focus. And the two focus that I had was improving the customer experience and also streamlining the permitting processes. As we discussed and we looked and investigated the issues that existed, it was very clear to me and also to my staff that Montgomery County did not have an inclusive permitting and licensing system. We were on three separate platforms that they were not talking with each other, and the platforms were not specifically for permitting and licensing. Many of the questions and confusions from people was related to that existing system. So we decided that we're going to start looking for a system to replace this existing on the premises and old system that DPS was working with. So as a result of very extensive research and work on many people in my department, we, including with finance, including with tax, and the other departments, on May 5th, 2021, DPS signed a contract with Tyler Technology to replace its existing outdated systems. And we have already started the configuration. This new configuration, this new system has 6 phases. We have already completed phase 1 and phase 2, and we are in the most difficult and extensive part of configuration of this new system, that is phase 3. And that includes configuring more than 120 different permitting workflows and processes that the Montgomery County already have. Every single permit is being rerun and redone for this new system. And we are almost 1/3 of those workflows, and this process would continue until end of February. And so far, thank God, we have been on a schedule. And now one of the biggest and major difficult tasks that is part of this solution and in this phase 3 is migration of all the data from the legacy systems to the cloud. This new system is a cloud-based enterprise system, and by moving all the data from different platforms to the cloud, we're going to make it much easier and faster for DPS staff on the back end to search the data. And also we are, by configuring each permit, we're streamlining each permit to make it easier and faster. And the most important thing is that all our customers and clients on the citizen portal, they're going to see a much business-friendly system that they just ask them questions, and they would, after answering that what they want to do, they're going to get a list of the permits. They could apply for each permit. They could put the fees calculated through the system in the shopping cart. Everything would be done online. By the time that this system is rolled out, everything could be done from the comfort of someone's house. Of course, our front offices are open for people that would still like to walk in and to have business with us. But if they decide that they want to do it in the comfort of their home, they're still able to do that. Lifu, could you please go to the next slide? So, no. Could you go back? Yes. The new system, as we discussed, is going to be an enterprise cloud system. SaaS is software as solution or as service. The term of contract would be for 3 years with 2 options to renew for 2 one-year periods. So it's going to be about 5 years. The cost for the first year is $1.5 million. That includes the one-time fee of the configuration and consultant fee for that 120 permits, and also with the 50% of the SaaS fee for the first year. After that, when we roll out, hopefully by summer, we have put a very, very aggressive schedule that is 12 to 14 months, that it's almost unheard of for a system as big as Montgomery County. After the first configuration and the rollout, for each consequent year, county is just going to pay a SaaS fee that it includes upgrade, maintenance, and every other cost of close to $757,000. After by 5 years being online on this system, we're estimating to save $2 to $3 million altogether by having this system that is going to be a game changer for all the residents in Montgomery County. And at the same time, we're going to save some money.
What is the basis of the savings? What are you saving? Is it?
The savings are, if you remember last year, I asked for $1 million to bring this system on board. And that's the only spending that we have asked for for the enterprise, it's fine for this project. The savings are, we have 3 separate platforms that we are upgrading because it is on the premises. The upgrade for each of those systems, it's hundreds, thousands of years, anytime that we have to upgrade. The way that we could just ask for $1 million, we could stop to those upgrades.
So the savings is the operating cost for the technology of the systems that are being consolidated into this one system.
Yes, that is on cloud and also staff. Yes, because we had a lot of contractor staff that they had to maintain the existing system that we already have had some saving in those that we don't have them anymore. And
so it's all in the technology arena. It's not necessarily savings of less staff time devoted to, approving permits per se. It's the staff time devoted to the software that you had been using.
Correct. Okay. We have not yet seen, at this point, frankly, my staff are spending 25% of their time in addition to doing the permits just to configure this system. So it's a very extensive work for my staff to get the system on board. But when the system comes in, it's going to provide a lot of streamlining, and it's going to be easier. We have to train our staff, and it's going to be easier after they are trained and they are expert on the new system. Correct.
Okay, and I'll just say that this is a big enterprise to update all these systems, and we're going to be keeping a close eye on meeting the timelines that you've put forward.
Yes, I know. I am living on that. So could you please go to the next? So as you see, thankfully, DPS has not been in the DPS revenue has not been impacted by COVID. My staff have been as busy as before. My inspectors have been available, but everywhere was closed. They were on the field and they were checking the construction sites to make sure that constructions are closed on time. We provided many, innovative ways to work with our construction crews due to lack of supplies or whatever to make sure that they can continue moving on. So the revenues has almost stayed the same. And DPS staff, they were fully transitioned in March of 2020 to telework. The good news is that my staff went back to work. We opened our front office on the 7th floor of our new building since June of last year. And people have been coming and we have been serving them the way that we served before. Our staff are back, a combination of telework and being in the office. Hopefully by the time that we have the new system, we could provide more online services. Since I have been the director, I have had at least, I have had 26 of the staff that have retired. And we have a staff that when they come to DPS, they stay with us. So we are very fortunate to have them. But we are expecting that within the next 3 to 5 years, we have another 30 to 35 of our staff that they could retire. And, as we discussed, I don't believe that the pandemic has negatively impacted our revenue, despite us thinking another way and bracing ourselves and saving, sort of not spending.
Everyone's got to build a home office now.
Yes,
and construction never stopped. That was one sector that never was shut down. So
correct.
Yeah.
Correct. Okay, could you please go to the next slide? So I would have Ehsan Motazadi, my deputy director, to walk you through the next 2 slides.
Thank you, Mitra. Good morning, council members, Reema, Fritzon, and Jawanda. Again, my name is Ihsan Mutazili, Deputy Director with DPS, and thank you for the opportunity you provided to us to have this presentation in front of the PHED committee. That being said, I think Mitra alluded to some of the information on this slide. This deals with DPS transition from our Rockwell office to our new building in Beaton in October of 2020, last year. Our operation have continued throughout the pandemic, and we opened our offices to the public in June of 2021, approximately 5-6 months ago, to provide front-facing services. We also initiated a hybrid in-office and telework schedule for staff. Currently, our staff, depending on their duties and responsibility and the operational needs of DPS, can telework anytime, anywhere from 1 to 3 days a week. Also, we have developed our emergency action plan and currently training our staff. And as you know, the new building is housed to several county agencies, including DPS Park and Planning. And this really helps being in the same building, strengthening the collaboration between the agencies. Next slide, please. Thank you. So this is DPS organizational chart, and this is after the reorganization and the restructuring that at DPS that Mitra mentioned. So just to give you a little bit of background is when Mitra came over here, during her first 90 days, she met with the employees, the stakeholders, including business communities, to create a vision to keep improving and getting better at meeting our customers' needs. As a result of these meetings, and if you remember the 4 businesses outreach, we reorganized and restructured DPS. The reorganization occurred last year, approximately the same time as now, and involved moving approximately 70 to 75 staff members. And we created a new division of customer service and outreach. Mr. Reamer, you alluded to that, was one of your question, what did we do to streamline? And this is really a streamline, the new division of customer service and outreach, which I get to it a little bit later on. So at the director's office is Mitra and myself. We have our IT section headed by Mr. Henry Mobayini, reports to the director's office. So does Barbara Suter, manager of Central Services Unit, and the administrative assistants, as you see. We have 5 divisions. The new division you see in the green, which is that's the new division was created. The other 4 divisions are existing. So what this division does is provide the point of entry. Before, if you have the building permit, depending on what kind of building permit it was, for the license, you wanted to get a vendor's license, you had to go to that division to apply and obtain it. And this was a source of confusion, not knowing where to go. By having everything at one place, we always talk about, DPS is one-stop shop. This is the same thing. So when you come, we have an intake right now. When you come, this is where you go. This is where they have the comprehensive discussion with the customers. And we have seen a good result. We have done surveys and we have received really positive feedback that has taken the confusion out. And then people know who they need to talk to. This division is headed by Ms. Carmen Barrios. Carmen is new to DPS. She started her job over here a year ago, right about the time when we went to the new division. The responsibility of this division is, like I said, the intake and screening of everything that comes in before they triage it to the various divisions in DPS. Once they're finished with all the reviews that's going back and forth, then it comes back to this division again. And that's when they make sure everything is done and issue the permit. This division also provides pre-design consultation. Those are, we were doing the commercial pre-design consultation for a long time. Mitra came over here again, there was a need. We were getting, people that are doing the small jobs. Really, those are the people that need our help. The commercial people, the land use attorneys, they know the way and they have the people and the resources to do what they need. So by doing the residential design consultation, now we're getting more people involved and really being able to help them when they come in, especially if they're doing it themselves. So great addition, this new division to DPS. I'm going to move around and I'm going to jump to Division of Zoning. This is a new name for this division. It used to be called Zoning and Site Plan Enforcement. I used to be the division chief here before I became deputy director. Now Victor Salazar, he's the division chief. I think a lot of people are familiar with him. You know, he's been very involved in the community. The name of the new division is Zoning, Well and Septic and Code Compliance. So when we talked about moving people 70 to 75 people, we moved a lot of people from a lot of permit technicians from various divisions into the customer support and outreach. We also moved the well and septic. Well and septic is one of those things you want to kind of, when you come in, it's a land use issue that you want to hit it just like the zoning, you want to hit that early on. So zoning, well and septic in one place makes sense. Zoning deals with all the zoning issues plus site plan enforcement of all the certified site plan approved by Park and Planning. Next, I'm going to move to land development. Land development headed by Ms. Linda Kabielski. She's our division chief. She's been here for a long time. It's everything horizontal, sediment control, stormwater, right-of-way, and inspection. Then I'm moving to residential construction and fire code compliance headed by Mr. George Moste. Later on, of course, you're going to hear from all these guys right after I'm finished talking. I'm sure you're getting tired of hearing me talk. So Mr. James Sackett, he's going to be talking in place of George Moste. Residential construction is all your residential building going on and the fire code compliance. Those people, we move them in this division. And last but not least is commercial building construction. These are all the vertical. This is all the mixed uses. You see all the cranes. You see all over the place. They do the architecture, they do structural and life safety and issue the UNO, headed by Mr. Rick Merck. That being said, I'm going to turn it over to Carmen to talk to you guys a little bit about her division.
Okay, thank you. But before we begin, I don't know that we have time for a presentation from each division chief. They would need to be very, very brief. I'm sorry, it's just, you know,
it shouldn't be.
It could be a very extensive presentation, and I don't think it's necessary. So if you are planning for each chief, then let's just be really.
No problem. I don't think it would be more than 1 or 2 minutes, Hans, if you're okay with that. If not, we can move on.
Okay, we'll do that. And by the way, I think it's Mobayani, not Mayabeni.
Yeah, I know. It's Mr. Spill. I apologize. I had a good catch. I wasn't going to say anything.
Well, Henry's my old friend, so of course I'm going to say something.
Now you know that Henry is with us now, helping us with the new system. Yeah.
That's great. I'm a big fan
It was a great catch.
He does great work.
So yeah. I'm going to ask Carmen just to go quickly and the rest of the division chief quickly. 1 minute each, guys.
Great. So good morning. We will keep this super short. So as part of the larger reorganization that Ehsan referred to, about 40 individuals were brought into to create this new division. And our focus really is improving customer satisfaction, communication with our customers, and the overall customer experience, right? So how can we make things better for our customers? When we brought over those 40 individuals, it included all of the permit technicians. Again, as Ehsan said, really creating that single point of entry and trying to simplify the process for our customers. We have worked on a number of customer service initiatives over this last year. I believe Ehsan mentioned the point of contact emails. That's to ensure that our customers always know who's assigned to their application. They get their direct dial and they get their email address so that they know who to contact and how to contact them if they have a question on the process. We've expanded the design consultation process from just commercial to residential. So if you have a project in your home and you're just not sure where to start, you can come to us. We get all of the right people in the room for you, and they walk you through the process so you really understand from the get-go what the expectation and the requirements are, so that hopefully that creates a smoother process for you. We are doing surveys on the back end to just gauge our customers' overall satisfaction with the application process. We are implementing a department-wide customer service manual that gives response times and standards for email, voicemail, and phone calls, among other things. We're doing customer service training for the entire department with Montgomery College and OHR to really ensure that our our employees have the training and the skills that they need to provide our customers with the highest level of customer service. So we are definitely focused on trying to improve that customer service process. We have some work to do still, but we are definitely moving in the right direction. And I will say I'm really proud of the team here for all of their efforts through COVID and everything to ensure that the customer satisfaction is always at the forefront of our mind. And so with that, I will turn it over to
Ms. That's great.
Yes.
When we come back for budget, if you could please share with us the results of the customer satisfaction surveys. I'm glad to hear you're doing that. And, you know, I promise to be fair with you, you know, in how that turns out, because I think it's really important that you do it. And whatever the results are, we can work from there. So
you can't turn the ship around overnight, right? But
I'm not hearing you. I think the network is glitching a little bit.
Okay.
All right, great. We'll move to the next. Thank you.
Yep.
Thanks, Doug.
Good morning, gentlemen. Just to give you a little bit of context about DPS and our importance and impact to the community. In FY20 and FY21, a total of 180,000 customers walked through DPS's doors. So if we think about the context of, 1 million residents, that's, almost 2 out of 10 people standing in line that you see in the grocery store or in the cars that you see that you're driving up and down the Beltway and on county streets. So, we have a pretty big impact with regards to how many people walk through our doors, requesting permit applications, having inquiries, submitting drawings, and things like that. And what I want to do is I just want to hone in on some of the things that zoning really does and not really talk about numbers of reviews, permits, and inspections completed, but really the important things of what zoning does, which is it helps with economic sustainment. We currently have 160 certified site plans that have been sent over to us for park and planning. These projects are small to large projects like the Marriott headquarters, which is a $600 million project, and the hotel is getting ready to come online in December. So we have 160 similar projects like that, and what that means is because construction has continued through COVID, people who have not had the option of teleworking, and we're talking about skilled laborers and tradesmen, have been able to continue to be employed and not have fallen onto the state of Maryland's unemployment rolls. Furthermore, we work very hard with neighborhood revitalization and restoration, meaning that when homeowners want to obtain permits, fences, sheds, add additions to help improve or increase the value of their homes, we have been able to provide those things to them. Also, we work with the Office of Agriculture right now. Recently, you guys have helped move some things through with regards to the subdivision process, which helps people who are trying to activate themselves and become part of the ag tourism industry. We are working closely with the Office of Agriculture to make those things happen.
That going well, Mr. Salazar?
It is, Mr. Reamer, and we will be more than happy to let you know how that's going at a future date. But we meet with the group every other week with park and planning, and we're continuing to try to do the best we can to get that industry going and become more vibrant than it is now. We also have staff who serve on the Tower Committee. And I know that you guys recently had a very big deal recently on votes with regards to 5G, the 5G towers. But really, we accomplish all of these things because we've been able to modify our operations. And as Mr. Matazity had said earlier about being able to integrate telework and having the office open to the public, we are also able to service our customers 24 hours a day instead of having our customers come, sit in a parking lot, sit in an office, for 4 or 5 hours or however long it's to take a permit, they're able to submit a lot of those things online and get a lot of the pre-work done before actually getting the permit issued, and they get to do that in their pajamas at home. So I'm going to end my presentation here, and I'm going to introduce my colleague Linda Kabielski from Land Development. So if you could move to the next slide. There we go. Thank you,
Victor. Thank you, Victor, and thank you for pronouncing my name correctly. Because Mr. Motazetti did not, but that's okay. I'm going to keep this very, very brief since we are running short on time here. We are a very busy division, and as Ehsan mentioned earlier, we're responsible for all the land, all the horizontal work that occurs in Montgomery County. And I'll just leave it very shortly to say we are super busy and we do very complex work. But what I would like to focus on, what I am most proud of over the last year or so, is the fact that we were very short-staffed with our plan review section in particular, but also with inspectors. But in plan review, we have professional engineers on staff who are, when they were hired, were siloed. So we have a group that are responsible for public right-of-way permits and a group that's responsible for sediment control and stormwater. With the leadership and support of Mitra and Ehsan, I was allowed to implement creative solutions to address our staff shortages due to the hiring freeze and retirements and everything else. And using those existing resources, we cross-trained professional engineers who were in the public right-of-way group to help out with stormwater management plans. Ultimately, I do not think our service was impacted by the staff shortages. The strategy has been permanently incorporated into work assignments and long-term should result in faster permit issuance. Ultimately, what I would like to do, my ultimate goal is as a project comes in and there is a right-of-way component and a stormwater component, ideally those plans would be uploaded and the same reviewer would look at both, because oftentimes they have to consult with one another anyway. So that would be a very powerful and impactful thing for DPS to do.
That's great. Wow, I just want to say thank you for, figuring out how to work through and manage and execute without necessarily being able to access more resources. I think that is one of the hardest challenges in government. And, when we have tough times, it can lead to innovation and efficiency improvements, and we can all, leave more resources for the critical services that the community needs. And so, great progress to hear that you've been able to, devise a new approach that gets the job done without the positions. I hope the county executive and his chief administrative officer are going to look closely at what you did and see what ways that they may be able to get some lessons there. Thank you. Keep going.
I just want to add something. I'm sorry, Linda. The whole reorganization has been done within the existing resources. We did not hire. We actually have less one MLS position. So everything has been done due to the work of DPS staff. Some examples, like Linda explains, they have been fantastic. Okay, Linda, go, sorry.
Okay, and I promise to be really quick. Because along with that, we are implementing a strategy with the inspection staff as well. We would like to, my goal again, by the end of next year, I would like to have all of the land development inspectors cross-trained so that we can reduce the number of vehicular trips to a project. And, rather than sending 2 or 3 folks over there to work at one project site, we can send one who's cross-trained and multifunctional. So that's the ultimate goal. And one more thing, just really quickly, when we talked about surveys, we also sent out surveys to gauge how our inspectors and plans reviewers, specifically the individual, was performing. And overwhelmingly, I don't think anyone, either in the inspector positions or in plan review, received anything less than a 4.5 out of 5 as an overall, what am I trying to say here? Their overall rating. Their rating
Inspection.
was at average 4.5. I mean, they're doing a really, really good job. So thank you for letting me share. And Leave the next slide, please. I'd like to introduce Jim Sackett, who's filling in today for George Mustay, to talk about the Division of Residential Building Construction and Fire Code Compliance.
Thank you.
Thank you, Linda. Good morning, everyone. Residential construction and fire code compliance is headed by George Moose. I'm sitting in for him this morning. And our division has two programs: residential construction, which is plan review and inspections, and fire code compliance. Residential construction program is focused on we're striving to provide clear and consistent information in plan review and inspections, and streamlining the permit issuance process, and promoting practical compliance solutions for the applicants. Our FCC Fire Code Compliance Program is focused on preventing fires in existing commercial buildings and occupancies to keep the community safe. And their two major functions are review certain permits for compliance with applicable codes and inspect the occupancies. Dedicated inspectors perform permit-based inspections, targeted inspections, and those inspectors respond to the FCC inspectors monitor fire impairment line 24/7, 365 days a year. Some of our division's important accomplishments over the last year is we helped the county obtain a Solar Smart Gold designation, and to further implement efficient solar inspections and, more importantly, reviews, we're working on a new solar app to greatly streamline the review process for solar permits. We've worked a lot with the pre-design consultations that Ihsan had spoken about, and these consultations have helped many homeowners greatly prior to them even submitting plans. They want to know, can I build this deck on my side yard, or can I build it this big? And we tell them before they invest any money, and they've been greatly appreciative of that. My inspectors have completed 99% of their inspections on the scheduled day. We provide free deck maintenance inspections, and the FCC inspectors have performed a record number of inspections. And that's our division in brief.
Thank you so much. Do you also do the customer satisfaction and feedback? Is that part of what Ms. Barrios is?
Ms. Barrios would be, we're part of Ms. Barrios's collection on that.
Okay. I'm sure that this is an area that gets a lot of feedback. I hear anecdotally about all kinds of things that I know you have to manage through. People applying for a permit for something where they say it's one thing and the county's saying it's something different. You know, is it a deck? Is it a screened porch? You know, all these kinds of things. So I think this is a really important area for us to get that customer feedback and try to have surveillance of what kind of issues arise and how we can smooth those out.
We're working hard on our customer service. I know when Mitra came to the department, one of her first conversations we had was to have the inspectors make sure they contact the homeowner prior. You know, first thing in the morning, we send the homeowner a text, because she implemented a requirement that if I'm scheduling an inspection for my house, I have to put in a contact number. So I put in, you know, my inspection or my contact numbers there, so the inspector can text ahead, you know, at 8 a.m. So I'll be there between 10 and 12. And it's just one little step, you know, that's, you know, I've been here 15 years. I'm seeing the customer service improvements, and obviously we're going to continue to get to go in that direction, hopefully.
Thanks. This is definitely where the rubber hits the road. I mean, I know that there's, thank you, and let's just keep focused on helping our residents through this process and getting to yes.
That's our goal.
Thank you, Mr. Sackett.
Okay, Rick, would you come on?
Hi, good morning. Rick Murph with the Division of Commercial Building Construction. Just to set the stage, we work hand in hand between everybody else, and luckily and thankfully, we haven't also seen any major decrease during COVID, because our inspectors and our reviewers worked the same as, and if not more, during COVID, and we really appreciate their due diligence and all the things that they did for us during COVID. I will just tell you that you can see in our numbers that there are a little bit of a decrease in some inspections. I attribute that to a little bit of worksite COVID, not having all the inspections and having to move them. But more importantly, I believe a different mentality of looking and preloading work sites to understand what is needed for inspections, to lower the percentages of failures, and any time that we can roll another one into a different inspection, therefore minimizing the number of inspections and getting making sure that the customers and the work sites are maintaining the timeline that is most critical for the building industry. And so we do that. If I could have the next slide, please. More as important as those numbers are, it became immediately realizable to us that we didn't really have any tool for us to be able to understand and manage what's happening on a daily basis. Typically, we would hear a complaint or we would get some feedback, and it's always typically after the fact, and that's not what we really wanted to do. We wanted to ensure that we would be able to prevent an issue from occurring if possible. And so we created dashboards that allowed us to, on a multi-hour basis, understand where our permits are, where people's issues are, and be able to proactively intervene when possible, and if not, at least notify the design professionals and work with them on a daily basis to be able to get the information that is needed to move their permit or their inspections forward. We do this virtually on a daily basis throughout all the parts of a commercial building construction. And I just appreciate the staff. We are around 70 to 100 permits or plans at any one time. Our days are usually under 7 days of inspection. Of course, bigger projects take a little bit longer, but we have a negotiated date to ensure that those folks are that we are on their timeline, and their timeline is again something that we will accept.
Okay, I just want to say, I can't at a glance decipher, the presentation here, but I'd like to. So if you could please send that over to our staff, and if we can take a closer look. I think it's important for us to have a handle on these kinds of metrics. I'm glad you're presenting them to us, but partly because my screen isn't quite large enough, and partly because it looks fairly technical. I don't really have a comment yet on this, but glad you're giving us a basis here, and let's look closer at that, because as you said, timeline especially is absolutely critical for the commercial industries, and they've got to be confident that once they start, there is a clear timeline for them to finish, and so we need to know how we're doing on that.
So Hans, I just wanted to add, I wanted this slide to be here because it's a heads up of what is coming in the new system.
Okay.
This is a dashboard that we did manually with Power BI for the commercial. I was planning to have it for all the other ones, but it took us time, and my staff right now are involved with the new system. And this is going to be a standard dashboard on the new system. And this is going to be a standard dashboard on the new system. And this is going to be a standard dashboard on the new system. And this is going to be a standard dashboard on the new system. And this is going to be a standard dashboard on the new system. And this is going to be a standard dashboard on the new system. And this is going to be a standard dashboard on the new system. And this is going to be a standard dashboard on the new system. And this is going to be a standard dashboard on the new system. And this is going to be a standard dashboard on the new system. And this is going to be a standard dashboard on the new system. And this is going to be a standard dashboard on the new system. And this is going to be a standard dashboard on the new system. And this is going to be a standard dashboard on the new system. And this is going to be a standard dashboard on the new system. And this is going to be a standard dashboard on the new system. And this is going to be a standard dashboard on the new system. And this is going to be a standard dashboard on the new system. And this is going to be a standard dashboard on the new system. And this is going to be a standard dashboard on the new syst that is coming. So I didn't want to spend any more time, but for commercial, we had created that. So what happens that when the new system comes in, every single manager, they're going to have dashboard every morning that automatically is going to come. And the dashboard is based on what they want to manage their workload and to manage their projects. So they could see every morning or every minute automatically how many permits are coming specifically to their staff and what is the status. So if something is sitting there and it's an outlier, like you see that they are between the orange and red, this is before it gets delayed. So they know that there are 2 projects standing out as an outlier that have been there for 15 or 20 days. And they can just click on it and find out that why those projects are still there and who has it. And then there is a workload that is on the right side that they can distribute the work if they need that. But this dashboard is going to be standard for every single branch of our permit that we're going to have. So we're going to have a good eye to prevent on something that has not happened and prevent the delays.
Thank you. If you could please ensure if council staff doesn't have access to it already, if you could please provide that so the council staff can review these dashboards and have them for our budget reviews.
Sure.
Thanks.
And that concludes our presentation.
All right. Very good. Councilmember Chawando.
All right. Just trying to get unmuted there. Good morning.
Morning.
Director Podim and your team. You all, I will note that you all have, and I appreciate this as having a last name that's often mispronounced. You all have some of the best last names of any department as far as within your group. So good to see everybody, and really appreciate the work. You answered a couple of my questions, but I just wanted to confirm the permitting system. You said by the summer, hopefully.
Yes, I'm keeping my finger crossed. If barring any major issues, and so far on phase 3, we are on a schedule. The most important phase is phase 3. If we pass phase 3 by February, I'm hoping that we'll be able to roll out by early summer.
Okay.
So around July, June, or something like that, I would know better with the date when we go through this phase 3.
Great. And just to underscore something that I believe you said, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but that at that point, you'll be able to do residential, commercial, anything you need in your pajamas at home if you wanted to.
Everything, for the first time in history of DPS, all our permits would be online.
Yeah.
And as part of our workflow, not online that just people scan it and send it to us. It's going to be through the system. So
that's great.
You can sit home, open an account, and everything could be done. You could discuss, you could see the application, you could pay, you could see the comments, you could schedule inspection, and you can print your permits.
That's great. Well, that's going to be a great day. We should, and we definitely need to get there. Really happy to hear about the customer service surveys. I miss. I think she's not on right. I don't see her right now.
Oh, Carmen should be here.
Oh, there you go, Ms. Barrios. Great. I got to meet you, I think, when you were just taking the job, and I think you have a very important job, and looking forward to seeing those results, and you're doing great work from everything I can tell. On the residential reviews, it looks like they were up nearly 10,000 on the reviews. Permits are up 2,000, inspections up 5,000. Do we expect that? Obviously we talked about the pace of things up because of it never stopped and a lot of people were at home. Do you expect to see that? Is that pace continuing month by month, week by week as you track it, or is it tailing off, or are we still seeing it go strong that way?
We finished our first quarter of analysis, and we were very optimistic. In December, we're going to see the second one. So far, we think that we are still on a good level as last year. But I'm thinking that one point is going to slow down because everybody now, they have these home offices and things like that. But that has continued, and my staff have kept up. They have kept up. I am extremely proud of the work that they have been doing. Remember, 25% of 30 to 40 of my staff is being spent on this new system. They're subject matter expert. In addition to that, they go through these permits, and they have been doing fantastic.
Well, it's great to hear, and being able to do it with less money and all the things that you're doing. Again, we want you to do it right, but that's really encouraging to hear. And then I just want to say I was proud to be with the Secretary of Energy the day that Solar App we announced it for the nation here in Montgomery County, and so I am very curious if there's anything now. But I want a more in-depth analysis, as I'm sure the council would, on how that's going, and have we seen applications for residential solar go up, and is that working well, utilizing that in that pilot, I know we're doing the pilot, and just I'd like a longer briefing on that at some point.
Okay.
But excited, I think that's something that we can hopefully ramp up. But overall, great work. And look forward to digging into this when we get closer to the budget, and appreciate everything that all of you all are doing. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Super. Councilmember Friedson.
Thank you. Thanks for the conversation today. Really appreciate all the work, all the efforts to focus on customer service in particular, and to automate the process to be more accountable and transparent and efficient. I know that we've had a lot of conversations about these efforts. It's a long time coming, and it takes a long time to make happen. So, definitely appreciate the progress that we've heard today. Look forward to this summer when a lot of this can be in place. I just had a few questions. What percentage of the DPS staff, inspectors, et cetera, who were previously in the field are currently in the field? I know that a lot had to change during COVID. I'm just wondering, where do we currently stand vis-a-vis those changes first? And then is there any expectation that there will be permanent changes, that COVID has changed the way that some of these operations will work?
Yes. DPS has 220 full-time staff right now. Actually, the positions, we have 250, but the staff right now that are in DPS, about 220. Out of that, 80 to 85 are inspectors that are in the field. And then it's about another 20 that are the field supervisors, that they are at the backup and they do the quality assurance, and they spend a good part of their days in the field also. The changes we did, we have implemented virtual inspection. And the great news is that with the new system, it's going to be automatically a platform for the virtual inspections and virtual meetings. So that means that when someone wants to do a virtual inspection, automatically it would be checked with the new system that it is in the location that they say it is, okay? Because there is a GIS, we're going to incorporate GIS component. So we did a lot of the inspections that were possible as virtual. We're going to continue virtual inspections as it is possible. You heard Linda that talked about that we're going to do cross-training of our inspectors, that we have less number of trips of different inspectors in one locations. And the cross-training is going to be for the whole department. Carmen has a very difficult task because she's doing the same cross-training to have her permit technicians to be multi-task and multi-talented. The same thing with the residential and commercial. Gradually we're moving our way that way, but we did not reduce the number of inspections because we had more and more need for inspections. And our commitment to our customer is that if you put the inspection request by noon today, we're going to perform inspection tomorrow. So we have a stayed on that. even during COVID, and we're going to continue doing that.
Well, the cross training and the reduction of the number of trips, always that better, in terms of use of personnel on the county government side. But, we hear all the time the frustration about one person coming to inspect and saying that things are fine, and then the follow-up conversation saying things aren't fine, and the disconnect between that's, that lack of consistency is one of the main frustrations besides the timing that folks have. So that sounds like it's going to help address that, which, is a
Correct.
significant step in a much better direction. So I appreciate that. But just so I can hone in this, so there's about 105 people, give or take, who are in the field, about 80 to 85 inspectors and,
Correct.
23 supervisors, give or take. So that's like 105 folks in the field. Are all 105 of those folks in the field full, like at their full capacity pre-COVID now, or is there a different percentage of that? Is that, is there a new normal that it's not 105, it's going to be less than that, or the percentage of their time that they're in the field is going to be less? Where does that currently stand?
I let Ehsan respond but I don't believe anything has changed. But Ehsan, if you want to, you can take to go more detail.
No, thank you, Mitra. I mean, you said it. I mean, Council Member Fritzson, nothing has changed. I mean, as you guys alluded to, construction, especially during the pandemic, everything came to a halt with the exception of construction. I mean, we were super busy then, and we are super busy right now. What we have done, we have tried, at one time there was a hiring freeze and we were able to hire some more inspection and plan review. Right now we are fully, we think we are staff, and everybody that we have over here, all the inspectors are all in the field. There is nobody from the standpoint of, no, there is no inspection or there is lack or the number of inspection has gone down. No, actually the number of inspection has gone up. The number of complaints is going up again. So people are more home, they're seeing what the neighbor is doing. They pick up the phone. Hey, there's this. Do they have a permit? They're building this, or they're putting an addition, stuff like that. So no, I mean, really just the answer to your question, the numbers are still up there. The supervisors are out there. So nothing has changed, no.
Well, when Ehsan said that number of complaints has increased, it's not complaints from our work. It's complaints from neighbors to neighbor. I just wanted to make sure.
I alluded to that, but also hopefully with the new system, they're going to be able to inspection what's going to happen with the GIS. There's going to be a map. There is no need for gyms people to call and tell the homeowner, hey, we'll be there in 2 hours. They're going to show their route. They're going to give them a notice, and also. It's going to be a lot of time. You can do the inspection right now, everything available to you. You can issue the whatever you need, the report, everything. So it's going to be a lot smoother. Maybe at that time, our number of inspection because of the streamlining will increase. But at this time, right now, we are able to meet the demand out there.
Appreciate it. So we get a lot of complaints about the transportation plans and both the approval process and the adherence to the plans, moving forward for major construction projects. And this is, as you know, because we've been in touch on many of these issues, it's an ongoing frustration and concern. If it's possible to have a very succinct explanation of how that process works, what it entails, how it is not just developed but followed through on, how it's executed, and what type of oversight is done to make sure that the standards are followed, so that we can share with residents. I think it would be really helpful. I think it's something that you might want to put up on your own website, something that's easily digestible in layman's terms, not engineer or lawyer terms, so to speak. And I think it'd be helpful for us to be able to share, because obviously it's always a disruption when there's major construction going on, whether you're doing something in your own home and that impact on you, or whether somebody else is doing it in your community. And it's just important that we are demonstrating that we're doing the right thing and making sure that disruption is mitigated to the greatest extent possible. And that's not always the feeling as you well know, of residents. So as much as we could do to mitigate that, I think would be helpful. So if you have that, you could send it over. I would appreciate it. If you don't have it and could develop it, I think it would go a long way to building the type of trust that we need in the community. You know, your department is not just important to the applicants, it's important to all the people around the applicants. So that everybody, feels that way. And that's important for the applicants because the applicant wants to be able to say to their neighbors that they had to go through a process, they're following that process, they're doing what they can to mitigate the disruption to the community. It serves everybody to have that be, clear and transparent. So if you could help us with that, I would appreciate it. We don't have to go through it today, but if you could have something, in writing that's clear, consistent, and digestible to, ordinary residents and neighbors, I think that would be really helpful.
Of course, we can do that. That's what Linda does. So we're going to provide you that.
Thank you very much.
Sure.
I appreciate it. I'll yield back.
Okay. All right. Well, I think we've talked a lot. Ms. Nadeau, anything that you think we need to cover we didn't?
Nope, nothing else for me.
All right. Okay, good. Well, I would like to see the benchmarking. I think that's important. I'd like to see how we fare across each of these areas in terms of timing and ultimately, I don't know that we can compare customer satisfaction, but we could certainly compare outputs. All right. Thanks very much for your presentations today. Much appreciated. And good luck out there.
Thank you very much.
You're your ground level of customer interactions for a lot of what happens with our county government. So we appreciate that.
Thank you.
All right. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Our next item, I expect should be briefer. Good morning, Ms. McMillan. All right.
I'm gonna miss you popping on the screen, Ms. McMillan. I'm gonna appreciate these moments. Sorry, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Yeah, it's a pleasant surprise. Okay. Good morning, Linda. Take us away. You'll need to unmute, though. You've been muted.
This is a work session for you all to make a recommendation on the executive regulation that implements the window guard bill that you passed, which is also known as Ezekiel's Law. And you enacted it on April 6th, but it has an effective date of January 1st, 2022. And just as a quick reminder, the basics of the law are that landlords have to install and maintain window guards in certain rental housing. There are some exceptions, but the opening cannot exceed 4 inches. Also, the landlords have to install it in each habitable room if a child is aged 10 or younger occupies the unit, or if the tenant requests the guards in writing. And DHCA has to do outreach and education for the tenants and the landlords. One of the things in the bill is that it did provide for executive regulations promulgated and specifically mentioned that there may be the need for variance. So these regulations both provide very specific technical requirements for different types of windows, but then also provide the process for a variance if there is a window that doesn't fit any of the categories that are in the regulation. And I think so with that, I would turn it over to DHCA. Mr. Nagam is here, Mr. Demaray, Mr. Anderson, I see Mr. McHugh, and I also believe that Kenneth Nichols is on the call as well from Code Enforcement.
Good morning, everyone. Asim Nigam, Director DHCA. So what we have in terms of the regulations, we came up with like a broad guidelines for our multifamily landlords to look at. We're not very prescriptive. We looked at New York and New Jersey regulations, and we based our regulations based on what those two jurisdictions have done in similar fashion. We did receive 4 comments, and we did make one adjustment in the regulation based on one of the comments from AOVA. We think that these regulations are pretty straightforward and provides flexibility in terms of, you know, in case the landlord wants to use some other limiting device as such, then we are not very prescriptive per se. So with that, I can open it up for question and answers that you may have.
All right. Well, this can be pretty simple and straightforward. It seems like the variance is necessary for some small number of cases we expect. And, you know, any additional comments here from council staff or council colleagues?
And so my only recommendation, I recommend you approve it, just is to ask for a written update by March 1st, because I think this is you know, it's a really important effort, but it is also a large effort for landlords to undertake to make sure that all this is in place appropriately and for DHCA to monitor. So I just think a written update March 1st on the implementation and any issues that might need to come back to the committee would be helpful.
Okay, that's a good idea. Let's do that. Councilmember Friedson.
Yeah, just to add on that, as part of that report, just an understanding of how we're doing the outreach to landlords. I've heard from a number of landlords who do want to do this, who want to make sure they're doing the right thing, they're following the rules. They're very confused as to what they're going to be expected to do, when they're going to be expected to do it, what specifically they're supposed to be doing. And so if you could just provide with that, not just the actual implementation of the policy, but the outreach itself and how that's going, what we're doing to change and adapt based on, concerns that are raised, et cetera. I think that would be really helpful.
Sure, we can certainly, take care of that as well. And our outreach and marketing has already started. And Chris, you want to mention about our efforts as such?
Well, we have a very extensive web page set up that we're referring. We get a lot of phone calls and referring people to the web page, and we also have a list of all multifamily landlords that we will be sending the final regulation to, and as well as the final approved lease addendum, which is a document that the law mandated, which will help landlords identify those tenants who have the qualifying child under the age of 11. Or those tenants who do not have a child present but who would like to have a window guard installed. One bit of confusion that is out there that we're trying to dispel is window guards are not required in every window. We have some landlords who said they're just going to go in and install window guards in every unit in the building. That's not required. If they want to do that, that would be up to them, but it's not required under this bill. So, but we will be getting the information out and making sure that everybody has the approved regulation and the approved lease addendum so that they can begin implementing the law.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I've checked out the website. I think the question is exactly what the window guards are, currently, and understandably, there's no regulation yet. So it has to follow the regulation, which hasn't yet been approved. But the question is, what are the requirements, which, hasn't been, told. So once we approve this, there's going to be a relatively short amount of time for folks to know exactly what the requirements are and then to be able to implement them. And so the key is to make sure that they really understand what those requirements are, have an understanding of where to get them, how to access them, how to install them. I do think people here want to do the right thing. We just need to make sure we're providing them with the information as effectively as possible. So it's not a criticism; it's just a statement of reality. We've heard from a lot of people. I know you've heard from a lot of people who want to do this. We just got to make sure they understand what it is they're being asked to do in order to keep residents safe. So I just wanted to raise that. Appreciate your work.
To your point there, when we were doing the legislation, the bill sponsor brought our attention to devices that are basically, on the shelf at Home Depot, or you can order them online. And to me, they looked very inexpensive, $35, $50, $75. And it looked like you would install them with basically a screwdriver, and some screws. So I would be very surprised if we are ending up with something that is substantially, that's really very different and expensive, and it didn't seem necessary at the time. It seemed like this was a very simple improvement that, any they would not be hard to make. So can we just hear from DHCA? Is that where you think this is heading? Or as you looked into it, are you seeing something different as far as the equipment?
Well, this is a very minimum specification, and the principle behind it is that no opening in any window should allow the passage of more than a 4-inch diameter sphere. And so landlords are welcome to go out and get the types of devices that you've mentioned, but this minimum standard does not actually require that. What this requirement can be met with brackets that can be installed that would not allow a window sash to go up more than 4 inches. And or on a sliding window, it could be met with a metal block that could be put onto the window tract that would not allow that window to open more than 4 inches. So that is the minimum that must be met, is that no window can open more than 4 inches. If a landlord then wants to go above and beyond that and allow a window to open more than that, they could go out and buy one of the sort of the grill type devices that I think were discussed during the consideration of the law. So they could do that. However, if they do that, they do need to meet certain specifications that are a little bit more in depth in terms of how much weight they hold, for example. They cannot hold, this law goes up to children basically up to the age of 11. It's 11, or it's all children below 11, so it's 10 and below. And that could be, 100 and, low hundreds or 120 pounds or something. So they just have to make sure there's a little bit more requirement for ensuring that those things can withhold the weight of a child. But that's not necessarily the requirement here. They could be met with a simple metal bracket that prevents the window from opening all the way, and it could, or a metal block that could prevent a sliding window, for example, from opening more than 4 inches.
Great, thanks.
And actually, if I may, I just would like to say we actually have heard from some landlords who are actually happy to see that this was, much less than what they expected. They were looking at the idea of having to buy those types of, $35 to $50 devices for hundreds of windows. And we actually got some comments saying that they were, in our phone conversations with them, that they're actually happy that this is not quite that stringent.
Okay. All right, appreciate that. Okay. Very good. So is there an amendment that's needed, Linda? I mean, we don't amend these anyway, so they're letting us know that they had that variance. Okay, great. So without objection, we will approve this, recommend it to the full council. Okay, great.
And
thank you, DHCA.
It'll be on the consent calendar on November 30th.
Great. All right, that concludes our business for today. Thank you so much. I look forward to seeing you.
Thank you. All right, bye-bye.